Democratic Representative Vernon Jones decides to endorse Trump, which is not a good thing because he's black. Herman Cain passes away along with civil rights activist John Lewis. Donald Trump decides to take on Twitter, or Twitter decides to take on Trump, and William Barr battles against Congress. I'm your host, TJ Evans, and this is the TJ Evans Show. William Barr was called to be a witness to Congress, and they wanted to know about a couple of things: the Trump administration's reaction to the protests, police brutality, COVID-19, and a lot more. But during this whole investigation or interrogation, they decided to grandstand. And when I say they, I mean the Democratic representatives in Congress.
Now, yes or no, have you discussed the president's re-election campaign with the president or with any White House official or any surrogate of the president?
Well, I'm not going to get into my discussions with the president.
Well, have you discussed that topic with him, yes or no?
Not in relation to this program.
I didn't ask that. I asked if you discussed that with
I'm a member of the cabinet and there's an election going on. Obviously, the topic
So the
comes
answer
up.
is yes.
Well, the topic comes up in cabinet meetings and other things.
Okay.
It shouldn't
And
be a
as part of-
surprise that the topic of the election.
I didn't say I was surprised. I just asked if you'd done that.
Prosecutors in the Roger Stone case filed a memo with the court recommending a sentence of 7 to 9 years in prison. A few hours later, President Trump tweeted that the sentence recommendation was, quote, a disgrace. You're aware of that?
Yes.
And General Barr, several hours after that, you filed a pleading with the court stating that the sentence recommendation would be changed and that you would be asking for a lighter sentence for Roger Stone. Isn't that correct?
No, what is correct is that, what is corrected on February 10th, Monday,
No.
I gave instructions as to what
Reclaiming my time.
Yeah,
Reclaiming-
I'm answering your question.
Well, you gotta let him answer.
Reclaiming my time.
We should start prosecuting to the extent we can these lie and try cases. Previously, we hadn't really been pursuing them.
Okay, so I take that as a no. I just have one
No,
more
I
thing to
no.
say.
Well,
Sir,
I'm
my
saying
time
we
is
are
up.
pursuing those
My
cases.
time is up. I take that as a no. Unfortunately, this fits a larger pattern of your administration neglecting the health and safety of Americans. From health care to gun violence, this administration is failing to keep my constituents and people all over the country healthy and safe. I demand better. Americans demand better. I want you to provide the answers that you are either unwilling to provide us or don't have answers to this committee, because these are relevant questions and we need to have answers from you. Now I yield back the balance of my time.
Yeah, it seemed like they really weren't trying to get answers to questions. They just wanted to spew out leftist talking points. But Jim Jordan, representative, Republican, decided to intervene somewhat.
Mr. John, I got a question. What purpose? For what purpose does the gentleman seek?
For months you've tried to get the Attorney General to come. He's here. Why don't you let him speak? Why don't you let him answer the questions?
The gentleman is not.
Time after time. If you want the Attorney General to come, at least let him answer the questions and the accusations made against him.
The gentleman's rudeness is not recognized.
Rudeness?
Rudeness is on the other side. Mr. Stanton is
Time
open
after
hearing.
time you refuse to let the Attorney General of the United States answer the questions posed to him.
Mr. Stanton is recognized.
Well, maybe the last few witnesses will actually let the Attorney General
Mr.
speak.
Attorney General, will
That
you
will be
commit to
enforced.
making sure the Department of Justice does not get involved in a contested election, yes or no?
I will follow the law.
Is so disappointed we can't get a clear answer on that. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to submit for the record the following items. An item from The Guardian magazine, an embarrassment. Trump's Justice Department goes quiet on voting rights. Second, New York Times magazine, William Barr's state of emergency. Finally, from the Washington Post, Trump's assault on the election integrity forces question, what would happen if he refused to accept the loss?
Without objection, the material will be based.
Mr. Chairman, just for the
Without
record,
objection.
a member of the
material-
Judiciary
without-
Committee, following the law
Without objection.
should be something a member of the Judiciary Committee knows.
The gentleman
It's
was
pretty
suspended.
darn clear.
The gentleman will suspend without objection. The material.
Also, William Barr did not take this lying down because he's a smart man, probably smarter than the whole Democratic Congress. And he had a couple of punches to get in, threw a little jabs at everyone saying stupid things. which was pretty much the entire Democratic Congress.
In 2017, that prosecutors who make political contributions are identifying fairly strongly with a political party, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, you and your wife have donated over $730,000 to Republican and conservative candidates, including donations of $58,000 to Republican senators and Senate candidates in the 4 months preceding your confirmation. That's correct,
Are you
isn't it?
surprised I'm a Republican?
He started on July 31st. The first week he was there, he came to raise this issue.
I think he started February 1st.
Right. The first week he was there, he came into your office to raise the issue of sentencing. In the interview you did with ABC, you said...
No, I don't think he came...
That's what you told ABC News. You said that he's talked to senior staff. Not you, perhaps, but he talked to senior staff.
I don't know what... I think I speak English. I said that before he came in to see me, I believe he had some conversations
Conversations with senior staff, right.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, could we take a 5-minute break?
Dean is recognized.
Could we take a 5-minute break, Mr. Chairman?
No.
That's a common courtesy,
Dean is
Mr. Chairman, of every witness.
I waited an hour for you this morning. I haven't had lunch. I'd like to take a 5-minute break.
Mr. Attorney General, we are almost finished. We're going to be finished in a few minutes. Otherwise, we can certainly take a break, but
You're real class.
Yeah.
After this, if you still want, we'll have a break.
No, he wants a break now.
You want it now?
And you just mentioned rudeness. I think we're seeing it on display. Let's let the Attorney General have a break.
The committee will stand in recess now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
William Barr showed that he was the smartest man in the room, and he had nothing to lie about. They called him to testify and answer questions, but every time he tried to answer one single question, they had to cut him off. And it was because he was telling the truth, and liars don't like the truth. It's just a fact of life. And usually the people who's yelling the loudest are the dumbest. Donald Trump made the guy kings at Twitter, man, because he decided to tweet out what an actual practicing medical doctor does to battle COVID-19. Not what Fauci says, but an actual practicing doctor.
Here because I have personally treated over 350 patients with COVID. Patients that have diabetes, patients that have high blood pressure, patients that have asthma, old people. I think my oldest patient is 92, 87-year-olds. And the result has been the same. I put them on hydroxychloroquine, I put them on zinc, I put them on Zitromax, and they are all well. For the past few months, I've taken care of over 350 patients. We've not lost one. Not a diabetic, not a somebody with high blood pressure, not somebody with asthma, not an old person. We've not lost one patient. And on top of that, I put myself, my staff, and many doctors that I know on hydroxychloroquine for prevention.
But past that, we lost a few representatives. One civil rights activist, John Lewis, passed away. And a lot of people were upset because Donald Trump didn't show up to his funeral. But former presidents, George W. Bush and Barack Obama, attended. He actually eulogized it. Now, me personally, I was a little taken back because everybody was upset at Donald Trump for not showing up. But one, he needs a lot of security whenever he goes anywhere because he's the president of the United States and we already have two there. Two, not too many presidents just go to former senators, congressmen. They don't really go to their funerals like that. And three, it's a pandemic going on. There's a lot of double standards to this pandemic, and one of them is funerals. I know a lot of people who lost family members during this whole time, and their family members weren't able to go to their funerals. So why would the president show up at this funeral? But that's just me. Especially when they didn't even agree on politics. But John Lewis was a great man, and he did a lot to help change this country. But for some reason, former President Barack Obama took this opportunity to make it political. This man just died, and Obama just decided to be a leftist.
There are those in power who are doing their darndest to discourage people from voting by closing polling locations and targeting minorities and students with restrictive ID laws and attacking our voting rights with surgical precision, even undermining the Postal Service in the run-up to an election. It's just, everybody's got to come out and vote. We got all those people in the city, but they can't do nothing. Like John, we've got to keep getting into that good trouble. He knew that nonviolent protest is patriotic, a way to raise public awareness and put a spotlight on injustice and make the powers that be uncomfortable. We don't have to choose between protests and politics. It's not an either-or situation. It's a both-and situation. We have to engage in protests where that's effective, but we also have to translate our passion and our causes into laws.
So nobody finds that weird? That this man just passed away and now it's an opportunity to just spew out more talking points. It's like the only thing that anybody on the left can do is just have talking points and try to stir up conflict in the country. One thing I don't like about Obama is that he complains about a lot of things that Donald Trump has done. But while he was president, that's when the whole Black Lives Matter movement started. It doesn't matter. I really feel sorry for the family of John Lewis that they had their family member pass away and Barack Obama made it political. It's uncalled for. Also, Republican Representative Herman Cain from Georgia passed away from COVID-19. I just wonder if Barack Obama is going to this funeral, if George Bush will show up to this funeral. Probably won't, because Herman Cain was a Republican. It doesn't matter that he was black. He was a Republican, and nobody cares about what Republicans feel or do, and if they pass away, unless they didn't like Trump. And Herman Cain did show up at a Trump rally before he passed away. It's funny how everybody was mad about this, but nobody said anything about when Joe Biden decided to eulogize Robert Byrd.
But ladies and gentlemen, of course, it's more than the name we're not going to forget. It's his courage.
Oh, courage.
He died like he lived. He died like he lived his life. He never stopped fighting. How many people would have hung on as long as he did? How many people would have had the ability to get back out of that hospital bed and get in a wheelchair and come in and vote for this? He never stopped thinking about his people.
Now, if you don't know, Robert Byrd is a representative from West Virginia, and he was a former Klan member. He actually was a recruiter for the Klan. It says that in West Virginia in the 1940s, late 1941 or early 1942, according to Byrd's memoir, he organized and led a 150-member chapter of the Klan as the Exalted Cyclops. That's nice. Now, I don't believe that anyone is just totally evil, and I believe that people are able to change over time. But he spent 50 years in the Klan. And I really feel that he had the same sentiments from back then, or he wasn't completely made anew, because in the early 2000s, he still used the N-word, and honestly, I don't see why.
They're much, much better than they've ever been in my lifetime. I think this is my personal opinion, I think we talk about race too much.
Yeah.
I think those problems are largely behind us.
Oh, okay. That's good.
I think we can all profit by our mistakes. I think we've reached a new plateau.
New plateau.
And I think it's going to keep going upward.
That's not a plateau.
That understanding and race relations. But I think I just think we talk so much about it that may help, I think, create somewhat of an illusion.
Illusion, okay.
I think we try to have goodwill. My old mom told me, Robert, you can't go to heaven if you hate anybody.
Oh, that's going well.
We practice that.
That's good.
There are white niggers. I've seen a lot of white niggers in my time.
Personally, there's no reason for anyone to use the N-word, especially people of another race. And even when people say, well, we're using it in this context, you can just say the N-word. It's not even, there's no reason just to say it. I mean, I use a lot of profanity, but I'm able to hold myself from saying it in this program. It's not that hard. You don't always have to use that language. You just want to say the word. Just say that. I'd rather you admit to saying, I just always wanted to say it in public and not get beat up for it. Be honest. That's just me. Well, next up. The NBA has went completely SJW. The players have decided to change the names on their uniforms to certain word names like justice, I'm a man, peace. They put Black Lives Matter on the court. Just keeping it all about basketball, because one place that I want to get my politics from is sports. It's not like I go watch sports to get away from what's going on in the world, because I need to completely be engulfed in the news at all times. But the NBA seems to be upset at one individual, Jonathan Isaac. Jonathan Isaac opted not to kneel for the national anthem. He's a black man, and reporters asked a stupid question to this man.
So I have a two-part question for you. So you didn't kneel during the anthem, but you also didn't wear a Black Lives Matter shirt. Do you believe that Black Lives Matter?
Absolutely. I believe that Black Lives Matter. A lot went into my decision, and part of it is, first off, is my thought that kneeling or wearing a Black Lives Matter T-shirt don't go hand in hand with supporting Black lives. And so I felt like, just me personally, what it is that I believe in, standing on the stance that I do believe that Black Lives Matter, but I just felt like it was a decision that I had to make, and I didn't feel like putting that shirt on and kneeling went hand in hand with supporting Black lives, or that it made me support Black lives or not. I believe that for myself, my life has been supported through the gospel of Jesus Christ, and that everyone is made in the image of God, and that we all fall short of God's glory, and that each and every one of us, each and every day, do things that we shouldn't do. We say things that we shouldn't say. We hate and we dislike people that we shouldn't hate and dislike. And sometimes it gets into a point where we point fingers about whose evil is worse. And sometimes that comes down to simply whose evil is most visible. So I felt like I wanted to just take a stand on it. I feel like we all make mistakes, but I think the gospel of Jesus Christ is that there's grace for us, and that Jesus came and died for our sins, and that if we all will come to an understanding of that and understand that God wants to have a relationship with us, that we can get past skin color, we can get past all the things in our world that are messed up, jacked up. I think when you look around, racism isn't the only thing that plagues our society, that plagues our nation, that plagues our world. And I feel like, coming together on that message that we want to get past not only racism, but everything that plagues this other society, I feel like the answer to it is the gospel.
Really? You don't believe he cares about black lives just because he didn't kneel? He's a black man. I hope he cares about black lives because he's a black life. And just because he didn't kneel for the national anthem, so that's my problem with everything, because people even say just because you didn't protest, or just because you didn't post this picture, or just because you vote for Trump, you don't care about black lives. Like, no, I'm a black life. I care about black lives, and I don't believe that all black people should think the same. I believe that we should be individuals. That's the one thing that white liberals think of black people. They think that we're supposed to think in a monolith. That's why 95% of the votes go to the Democratic Party. It makes no sense. It's ridiculous. It shows that most black people think the same. I can't stand it. And that's what started this whole thing with Vernon Jones. And before I get off of that, Jonathan Isaac, I salute you for your answer, and I'm glad to hear it. That was the best answer you could give to anyone asking a question like that. But Vernon Jones was asked to appear on MSNBC with host Craig Melvin. Now, I like how MSNBC and CNN does this. They managed to ask black people who support Trump about why they support Trump with a black host. But Craig Melvin is a host on MSNBC, and he doesn't like the fact that Vernon Jones, a Democrat representative from Georgia, supports Trump. And honestly, Vernon Jones gave great points to why he does support Trump.
You are an elected Democrat there in the state of Georgia, as I understand it, but yet you're supporting the Republican president's reelection bid. How is that going over in your district?
Well, obviously, my district knows about me. I've served as county executive. I've run a government. I've done things to move my county forward, and the people serve them well. Solid record of accomplishments. But this is not about politics. This is about putting your country before politics, putting your country for the party. President Trump is right on target with results. Prior to the pandemic, he had the best, and you know it, the best economy that we've had going back years and years and years. The Democratic Party chose to put
an economy that even many on the right have acknowledged that he inherited from the previous administration.
Well, that's fake news.
Well, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
If you look at the unemployment among African Americans during his years and during the Obama years, clearly it was much better. If you look at opportunity zone districts, if you look at support and financial support to historical colleges, clearly it's better off under his administration than the previous administration. So, I don't want to get caught into politics.
Well,
just because I'm a Democrat, my party feels though that
I like to traffic in facts, and much of what you just said is patently false. But I do want to. Representative Jones, this is my show. I'll ask questions. Give me a second.
Well, you had me on your show,
I know,
let me explain. Don't cut me off when I'm giving an answer.
I'm not cutting you off, but I do want to. Are you a paid campaign surrogate? Are you being compensated?
Let me be clear. You get paid to shape a liberal narrative. You get paid to attack this president. I don't get a dime for this president. I don't get a dime from the campaign. Everything I've done is in me and based on my principles. And see, that's the problem. When an African American that's elected
I did not raise your race.
Let me finish now. Let me finish.
Whoa. You're not going to imply that I asked that question because you're black.
So don't ask me that. You only ask me that because I don't fit your narrative. No, this president never offered anything. I don't want anything from this president. It's what I can do for my country. And you need to accept that many other African Americans and others support this president because of his policies.
And I'm sorry, people are starting to notice that this Black Lives Matter protest is not about black lives. It's a political movement. Don Lemon even explains why it's not about black lives. That it's about police brutality, not all black lives, just certain black lives.
The Black Lives Matter movement was started because it was talking about police brutality. If you want an all Black Lives Matter movement that talks about gun violence in communities, including, black communities, then start that movement with that name. But that's not what Black Lives Matter is about. It's not an all-encompassing. So if you're talking about, if someone started a movement that said, cancer matters, and then someone comes in and says, why aren't you talking about HIV? It's not the same thing. Black Lives Matter is about police brutality and about criminal justice. It's not about what happens in communities when it comes to crime, black on black crime. People who live near each other, black people, kill each other. Same as whites. 80-some% of white people are killed by white people because of proximity. Very true. It's the same thing with black people. That happens in every single neighborhood. But that doesn't, again, I'm not saying that's not important that those kids died, but it's a different movement.
But that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the show. See you next week. I'm your host, TJ Evans with the TJ Evans Show, brought to you by Royal Family Studios. Stay safe, do your research, peace.